Halloween, as most of you know, is that one day of the year where most people dress up in costumes. Parents and kids go trick-or-treating, there's also Halloween parties, and then there's people trying to scare one another to death. In this video, we're going to explore the origins of Halloween as we know it today. Halloween is the word we use to describe all the fun and activities we're accustomed to on October 31st. However, the name we use today is not the name that has been used throughout history. All Hallow-e'en, All Hallows Eve, and Hallow-e'en were other names used to represent this day. Hallow-e'en began to lose its apostrophe in the 18th century. Would you believe me if I told you Halloween is related to religion? When the name Halloween was introduced in English, the day associated with it was originally November 1st. In the Western Christian liturgical calendar, November 1st is known as All Saints' Day, a feast day to honor all the Christian saints. All Saints' Day was not named as such until the 16th century. Prior to that, it was known by the name we borrowed from Old English, All Hallows' Day or All Hallows. Hallow comes from the Old English adjective Hallig, which means holy. All Hallows used to be a bigger deal. One 17th century source notes that the three grand days are All Hallow, Candlemas, and Ascension Day. And since important feast days usually started the night before with a vigil, the evening before All Hallows gained its own notoriety as All Hallows Even or All Hallows Eve. The 3 days previously referenced is known as All-Hallow-tide, the time in the liturgical year dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints, martyrs, and all the faithful departed Christians. These 3 days are now more commonly known as All Saints' Eve, or Halloween, All Saints' Day, or All Hallows, and All Souls' Day. The word All-Hallow-tide was first used in 1471 and is derived from 2 words, the Old English word hallig and the word tide, meaning time or season. Now, all of this explains how we arrived at the name Halloween, but why do we wear costumes, go door to door for candy, and make jack-o'-lanterns? The original date that the early church chose for All Saints' Day was in the spring, but in the Western Church it was moved to November 1st in the year 835 by Pope Gregory IV. This date just happened to coincide with the Celtic festival of Samhain, which marked the end of the year and commemoration of the dead. It was believed that, during Samhain, the boundaries between the living and the dead thinned, which made it easier for the souls of the departed to visit the living. Many Halloween traditions, like wearing masks, telling ghost stories, and carving vegetables into lanterns, sprung directly from Samhain celebrations. The inspiration for what we call trick-or-treating today may have come from an activity introduced by the church, known as souling. Souling is when a person would go from house to house asking for cakes in return for praying for the souls of those in the house, and was popular during the later Middle Ages. In the 1800s, immigrants from Scotland and Ireland brought their Halloween traditions to the United States. They celebrated Halloween as they did back home, by pulling pranks. In Ireland, boys would carve spooky faces in turnips to scare unwary travelers, and they would tie strings to cabbages and pull them through fields to scare people. The Scots had one really obnoxious prank where they would pull up a cabbage stalk, get it smoking, and shove it up to a keyhole at someone's door so that when that person came home, they would find a house filled with this noxious smelling vapor. Across the American countryside in the latter 1800s, common Halloween tricks included placing farmers' wagons and livestock on barn roofs, uprooting vegetables in backyard gardens, and tipping over outhouses with or without people in them. In the 1900s, the pranks being pulled were so dangerous that some Americans took up arms against pranksters. By 1933, the holiday had become so destructive that cities were considering banning it. During the 1930s, civic and religious authorities, community organizations, and neighborhood families began to program parties, carnivals, and costume parades to keep kids out of trouble. During the Great Depression, people pooled their resources and staged house-to-house parties. The first house might give out costumes such as a white sheet to be ghosts, or soot to smudge on kids' faces. The next house might give out treats. The next might have a basement set up as a tiny haunt. This starts to morph into kids getting dressed up and going house to house trick-or-treating. By the 1950s, trick-or-treating became part of the American culture. So, this, my friends, explains the origins of Halloween as we know it today. I hope you enjoyed learning about Halloween with me, and now you have some history you can share with friends and family. As always, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and be sure to share this video with others. Until next time, bye-bye.